So, for those of you, I don't know if you've seen the news, but the UK worst case scenario report, or not necessarily even a worst case scenario report, but, you know, the fairly bad end of the report thinks that 80% of the UK will get coronavirus and then 500,000 odd people will die from it. So remember, this has gone from being just the flu, just the flu, just the flu, according to the media, to now, oh, it's a bad thing all of a sudden, because they've been irresponsible like we all knew they would be. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it, how quickly the narrative changes. As soon as the stock markets start collapsing, they realise that they're allowed to sort of talk about the media, financial implications and all that. So yeah, according to the latest things, and you can look this up if you don't believe me, 80% of the UK may apparently, in a government report, get the coronavirus. So yeah, all right, Mike. Yeah, not too bad, thanks. I'm quite tired again, but other than that, surgical masks are not good enough, no. They're better than nothing, but they're barely, any form of protection because they have no filtration ability. But yeah, so the same people who like a week ago were going, oh, it's just the flu, all this bullshit article, and now going, oh, yeah, it's bad, isn't it? Oh. Just based on the Arnold, we know how fast it's spreading, so they're basing that on worst case scenario. Nearly all the country will get it. The only people who don't get it will probably be, people in very rural areas. And then, about 1% of the population might be wiped out by it. And I think it'd be higher than that personally, because that's assuming all the hospitals keep running. Yep, I did see that. I saw him doing that constantly on the thing. Yeah, so judging by that, if 80% get it, 20% need care. Because yeah, that I don't know what 20% of 80% is, because obviously 20% of 100 is 20%. But anyway, regardless, if you had it'd be 16%, wouldn't it? 20% of 80%. But yeah, so that essentially means 16% would die essentially. Because if you need hospital care and everything's overwhelmed, you're fucked. Like we said, the best thing is to slow it down. Thank you, BBB. Depends how quickly it spreads and how quickly people go in reporting symptoms. If it's like Wuhan, they'll be overwhelmed within like a week. I don't believe that, because it's already in Iran, it's already in Australia, and that's not doing anything to it, is it? So, again, it's trying not to panic you, but the issue is they've been irresponsible, everybody, the media, for not saying you should go buy supplies now 4 weeks ago. Cheers, Marco. Yeah, ETF Ross says Commando store is sold out of the medium-large M95s. I've got one on order, but it's no surprise everywhere is selling out really at the moment, is it? Apparently, the price of even surgical masks and dust masks is massively shooting up at the moment. Right, I'm also going to say something with the British response to coronavirus, which is going to be very lacking, is if you think you've got it and you phone the number and they send somebody around to test you and then confirm you have it, you're meant to be trusted to just stay in your house for 14 days. How many people do you think will just violate that rule? I've got it, I can just pop out to the shops or something. The government, Ben, man. They said basically that in the worst case scenario, or one of the worst case scenario, 80% of the country will get it, 500,000 will die. Yeah, China one, I think it's pretty much like the UK scenario, not UK, sorry, a bit like the China scenario, but rather than welding people in, they're just going to hope that they don't leave. Thank you, Kelly. Maybe see if you can rent a rural place, but I suppose if you're in a flat or a house, As long as you get supplies in and then just stay in there for a while, you might be all right. Who knows? I'd get as much as you can affordably get Super Cool Star, because we don't know how long this is going to go on, do we? I'm trying to look for questions in the chat, because people are just making random statements about Corona or random stuff. I won't really have time to keep up with all of them. Thank you, Ghost Jesus. Yeah, the thing was with the Black Death, though, that was actually a bacterial infection, wasn't it? Both buboes and the pneumonic plague, which means that that, you know, in theory today you could treat the Black Death, the plague, with antibiotics, and it'd be quite easy. Whereas when it's a virus, no antibiotics. If you want to, Land Cruiser, there's no harm in doing it, really. Yeah, it is confirmed to be airborne. It was confirmed to be airborne like a week ago. Because to begin with, there was a few reports that it may be airborne and then may not be, and then there's more and more reports of it being airborne. And I think if we just look at how fast it's spreading, it has to be airborne. Will it come to London? It will come to London. It's just a matter of when, if not if. That's the thing that people have to understand of this. It's when, not if. If you look on the map, I got in the description. Look at all the colours on the map of all the countries that have got reported cases. Canada, North America, Brazil, the UK, Spain, France, Germany. Is that Belgium that has it there as well? Yeah, Belgium's got it. Algeria's got it, Egypt, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Croatia, Greece, Sweden, Finland, Russia, Iraq, Iran, UAE, Oman. I think Israel had it as well, didn't they? Lebanon and Israel both have it, yeah. Afghanistan, Nepal, India, obviously China, that's where it started, South Korea, Japan, Thailand. The point is that it's going to come to where you are. It's just a matter of when, not if. It's right in the top of the description. Yeah, well, we're already probably going into a recession. That was clear about a week or two ago, but all of the stock markets are still crashing. I've done a video on that, Soul Tire Snake. I think there's been like an emergency thing, Surge Trooper, of them trying to get PPE back in there, but again, there's probably not enough masks to go around. Yeah, 70% rubbing alcohol kills it on surfaces, but if it gets in you, obviously it's no help. So, he said, in Spain, news says that FP3 masks are or aren't useful. But we know they are better than nothing. There may, Chad, have been a mutation in Iran, hence why the numbers are so bad there in terms of the people dying. There's no such thing as a cure at the moment, Toasty. There's a vaccine in development, but it's not even past animal testing phase yet. So even when animal testing phase is done, it has to do a limited human phase and then a bigger human phase, and then it has to be, produced en masse. There's not going to be a vaccine till at least next year, if there is ever a vaccine. I'm not saying this to be alarmist, that's just simply facts. Don't say, oh, they'll make a vaccine, I don't have to worry, because it's not going to go that way. This isn't a movie where somebody, makes a vaccine just as everything's going to go wrong and saves a day. That's not how it works. Bart says human tests in spring 2021. There you go. Another year till it's even at that stage then. It's better than nothing. Yes, 160, but obviously it won't be as good as a proper respirator and filter system. I'm just going to move that lamp a bit because it's shining in my face. To a degree, I think most major cities will have martial law. I mean, look what's going on in Italy. That's in a first world country, and obviously they're, locking down towns and doing forced quarantines. No, I've not read the book Super Cool Stuff, so I can't comment. I just say round riot shields because it's easier for you to move them around. Oh yeah, I saw that Are We Screwed? Yeah, I thought that was fucking stupid, right? Because she's like, oh, somebody said to me, thank you for not wearing the mask. That reassures me. Oh, you're just increasing the risk that you spread it to other people. And she said, oh, when I got to the studio, I washed my hands. It's fucking airborne. It's... Yes, washing your hands is important, but the point is if you've not been wearing a mask and you've been on public transport, if somebody else on that public transport has it, you have it at that point. Washing your hands is going to do fuck all, isn't it? Sorry for my language. It's just, it really does annoy me when you get those people virtue signaling over actually being honest. If you're a doctor, you should know better. I'm just trying to see if there's any comments I can catch. Yeah, I saw the thing of the Iranian bloke wiping his head. I suppose, Gary, that's one way of looking at it, isn't it? Yeah. As well as lots of good people dying, at least a lot of bad people will die. oh dear. Russia's had cases. Apparently they've got 2 confirmed cases, 2 recovered, but pretty much everywhere's got more cases than they know about. Just because of the long incubation period and it requiring people to actually be tested to know if they've got it or not. What happened on the cruise ship, Neil? That you had people isolated into cabins and they still all caught it. Literally, Daniel, Google Britain corona worst case scenario. There's several news articles on it. 80% will get it, 500,000 will die. That's the figures you'll see everywhere because it's from a government report. P2 filters better than P1 filters, not as good as P3. Personally, I wouldn't use anything but P3 unless you can't get P3. Not as far as I'm aware. Mike, expired M17 filters are still going to work against particulates. I don't see why they suddenly go toxic. Well, in theory, they should be shot, Reese, but I don't think that will actually happen. Or North Korea's just lying that they don't have cases. It's probably already in central London. If you realise when now, every couple of days on the news, a capital city in most countries are getting it, I think it already is in London. It's just nobody's gone to the doctors yet and been tested and had the report back. Oh, thank you, unknown. So in what sense? They said somebody was reported having it near you and then they removed that report from the list, or what? Thank you, Stealth Camp. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, some people don't want to face the seriousness of it. But I think it's quite dangerous when you get people saying they're going to be doing stuff that's counterproductive to everybody's health because they don't want to be alarmist or whatever. Also, like memory holding reports. So there's a thing on the news thing near me where like some school kids came back to a school quite close to my local area from an Italian trip, and now they're being like quarantined or whatever. So that means I'm in very close vicinity to that area. Brilliant. Well, it's at least shows that if they're ordering those masks, they're taking it somewhat seriously. But as said, P3 is better, but at least they're giving him something. Personally, if I was in charge of it, I'd say spare no expense, give medical workers full face respirators. Because the unit price of probably buying something like this and just disinfecting it for a massive, economy isn't too bad. Yeah, this is the problem with all the reports like that. It's assuming, I think, that everybody can get hospital treatment, and then you just get some people who are ill and die anyway. Where, as we've said on all these streams and other YouTube channels have said, who have looked into it, the more and more your system gets overwhelmed, the worse the mortality rate will get, because people simply won't be able to get hospital beds or treatment. Oh, and don't forget to like the stream, everybody, because it says there's 531 people on at the moment and 156 likes. So quite a disparity. I would say yes, Magic Platypus. They're stupid. That's my No, that'll work, Sam. At least you've got something. A lot of people don't at the moment. For all the people saying, should I be scared? No, I wouldn't be scared, but I'd be vigilant. It's a different thing. If you're panicking and being like, really, ooh, it's going to be bad, it's going to be bad, that's probably not a good attitude. If you just realistically look at it and say, right, what sort of, preps do I need to get in? Who do I need to look after? That sort of thing. That would be far more advantageous to just pretending that there's nothing wrong, or, going, oh, it's happening. You can't turn on slow chat. It's not an option. Don't keep asking for something I can't do. So supposedly it's only eyes and breathing, or like, getting it in your mouth or whatever. So a mask and everything is fine. I would say 100% seal them, SPT, but you can just literally do that by putting duct tape or something around them. I think a major thing, Archie, would be making sure for governments that medical workers are properly equipped, because one of the problems we've been seeing pretty much everywhere is people will rush out to treat somebody, whether it be paramedics, doctors and all that. They're not in proper protective gear, then they get it, and then they spread it to more and more patients. Right, stay safe then, Uranus. As much as your name's Uranus, but yeah. If you mean, do I believe the China numbers where they say the numbers are going down? No, I don't. I mean, to an extent, because people have been locked down for so long, it might be leveling off a bit in that regard, but not as fast as they're saying. Apparently, they said something like outside of Hubei, there was only 5 people in China who were confirmed of having it yesterday. If you look at a number like that and you think they're being truthful, that's bullshit. How can, when Italy's having like 30, 50 cases a day, South Korea's, having like 100 plus cases a day, and China says, oh yeah, out of the one really bad area, only 5 people actually got it yesterday. No, it's just propaganda bullshit numbers. And I think the day before they said like 9 people or something. So they're just making the numbers up at this point to try and get everybody back to work in the factories. Because if they do that, people who are infected go back to work in the factories. All of a sudden, boom, the infection rate really shoots back up. Thank you, JM. He said, good evening. Have you had any powered respirators in the past, like the PowerFlow? God help us if 80% get it. We would be screwed if 5% got it. I've built my own PAPA system, and I've used the PAPA system on a hazmat sort of level A suit. They're all right, but I'd only really recommend them for people who have difficulty breathing. For a regular adult, you're never going to need them. I mean, I know military applications, and there's different applications where they might be useful, but for a regular person, just breathe through a normal filter. If you've got asthma or something like severe asthma or breathing problems, then they'd be worth getting, but otherwise, no, I'd say. If you get the high-end Y2Ks that were FFP3, yes. If you get like the really basic Soviet P1 Y2Ks, I'd say they wouldn't do much. They're better than the surgical mask, but not much better. I don't actually know. Look up there's a list if you look online of all of the confirmed bleaches and things like rubbing alcohol at work. So look up what's on that list and then use that stuff. Right. I'll put it this way. All masks that are like military certified gas masks can work against viruses with the correct filters on, because gas masks are designed to withstand horrible types of gas. If you're saying can any kind of industrial mask for any kind of use or infection work against gas, then no, because a lot of gases are designed to eat through masks, like blister agents like mustard gas and lewisite are designed to basically chew through rubbers, which is why modern military masks are normally made out of butyl, because it's a very strong rubber. So the answer is all military masks with the correct filters should work against this. But if you got random dust masks and surgical masks and things like that might work okay against coronavirus, lots of them will give you absolutely no protection from gas. Some say on the straps, Tor. If it doesn't say on the strap, you probably have a very old one that's not even rated. Yeah, I think I've got a 5-litre one behind me that I bought for like £15 a couple of weeks ago when the prices were still sensible. Yeah, Israeli civilian masks are very good. The thing is, apparently Israel's got a mask shortage problem, but I don't see how that's happening, because if they supposedly have enough civil defence and military masks for everybody, you think they just tell all the citizens to wear the masks if they're out in public, as though there was going to be, like another Gulf War, like they worry about Scud missiles coming in or whatever. It will completely depend on what masks you're looking for at what sort of prices, but again, they're all going up, and as I said, it just gets worse and worse week on week. So, your window of opportunity to get stuff is constantly closing, so don't keep putting it off for the people who keep going, I'll leave it another week or maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, that's happening all around the world, because somebody else will be infected that has been somewhere else, or several, infections down the line. I've got a video coming out later this week on NBC suits, but basically any that are slightly waterproof, just so they're easy to disinfect. It doesn't have to be a proper NBC suit. Thank you very much, Eric. Government, what, in Israel? Yeah, maybe it didn't cross their mind. Like, oh, these aren't surgical masks, these are useless. Somebody was still saying out on my stream yesterday. Did someone say something? It's petering out a bit, I think, as all the mainstream media has started to kind of go, oh yeah, it's bad. But I imagine you're still going to kind of get shills saying, oh, it's just a flu. I suppose the thing is with Heinz beans, if you've got a load of them in the cupboard, I'd much rather risk eating Heinz beans every day than actually, walking out into some infected wasteland to try and find more stuff. It's a big size. I don't know if there's bigger ones in the PMG. The size 4 is certainly a bigger size. Yeah, I think part of what it was that a lot of media things didn't want to hurt investments or whatever. So they were keeping quiet. But as soon as the stock market started crashing, I think they were kind of like, oh, the cat's out of the bag. We might as well tell the truth. That's kind of my view on it, because I think a lot of the stuff where people were told not to panic was probably just so people could sell stocks off slowly who were in sort of certain positions before, everybody knew. The UK, where I am. I can link to an article if people want with it. There's a couple of different news sites with it on. Oh, here's the Independent, which is actually a bit of a better place. Oh, thank you, Uncle Yeet, and thank you, Gage. Uncle Yeet says, are USMCU2 PMAS of the Neospion 100 filters good? That would be completely good enough as long as it fits properly and it's in a good condition. Engage, thank you, says, good day, mate. Love your channel. Will a raincoat and rain pants with elastic cuffs work as a makeshift NBC suit? Yes, it will. I've got a video, I think it's Friday, that comes out where I have reinforced that for the people that don't know. But yes, that will work fine. So if you've got rain gear, you can wear that. It's quite easy to disinfect as well because it's waterproof. But yeah, so if I did just link the article, didn't I? Yep, the Independent one. I'll just read some of this out and I'll go back to the chat. Coronavirus news live. Government fears 80% of country could be infected as deadly outbreak sweeps Europe amid looming pandemic. Coronavirus has spread to countries across Europe, with Germany, Spain, Austria, Switzerland, and Croatia all reporting their first cases after hundreds of people caught the disease in Italy and 11 were killed. In the UK, schools have closed their doors and warned pupils to self-isolate following their return from trips abroad. And England's top doctor warned British families may have to quarantine and may have to be quarantined and transport services cut back in the event of a global pandemic. World Health Organization, I don't know if anybody's listening to them anymore, official Dr. Bruce Aylward urged governments to act as if the virus is going to show up tomorrow. But the fucking WHO said the other day that, oh, it's not a pandemic, ooh. Anyway, US experts have now warned that this might be bad, and that the spread of coronavirus in communities across America was now a question of when, not if. Donald Trump has urged Congress for $2.5 billion to combat the virus, and on Wednesday morning, a confirmed case of coronavirus has been uncovered in Brazil, meaning it was now present on all of Earth's inhabited continents. It's not in Antarctica, but it's everywhere else. So there you go. Just the flu, just the flu, just the flu. I don't think the media is repeating that over and over and over again now. We all know from how stuff actually works, though, that masks are needed. So, thank you very much, Caroline. So, gas masks needed too, just in case. I will try and watch your videos again. I get so mixed up. I'm not honest. Well, half-face respirators with goggles are fine. Full-face masks are ideally better. And thank you, Samuel. Put your full ID in so I can add you. I can't add you without the full ID. But yeah, Caroline, for what you want is a full mask with a P3/P100 filter. What that means is it basically offers almost 100% particulate filtration. It's actually at like 99.7%, but that will be the best you can get. The thing is, full face masks end up making a better seal to your face. Rajiv says, good evening, been meaning to tell you how much my Ma and I value your very informative, sound and level-headed videos. You're doing a very good deed. My Ma and I watch your videos every night. I'm very glad you enjoy them. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but you know, you get some info out of them. I'm just waiting for the other person to post their Discord link again. Cheers, Caroline. A hazmat suit's a bit overkill. I mean, if it's a hazmat level A suit, which is a positive air system, that would work really well. But I sent off the Ube one I did the video on a while ago back the other day, just because it takes up too much room. But hazmat suits would be very functional, just a bit impractical, because you don't need anything that kind of advanced for them. Right. I think when they say 80% of people are going to be infected, they mean basically everybody it comes into contact with, unless you're in a rural enough area it doesn't get you, or you're just lucky. So basically, what it's going to be is, out of everybody that gets it, the older you are, the more likely you are to die, I think is just going to be the simple answer. The mortality rates with this tend to be pretty much directly correlated with age, but there still has been younger people dying from it, which is something, you know, to bear in mind. It's not just like seasonal flu, or I think the death rate is pretty much entirely linked to age and underlying health conditions. This seems to have something a bit more sinister to it. But in terms of, just simply, in terms of simply who's most at risk, the more elderly you are, or the more health problems you have, is basically the simple answer to that. But every group, there's nobody who's immune to not catching it, because we have no herd immunity to it. Either if you take the bioweapon angle or that it's a coronavirus angle, either way, the point is it will simply just jump to humans, no problem, from human to human, because we don't have any, resilience to this strain. Scott Pro filters, it depends which model. The only thing I don't like about Scott filters, they're not very well sealed. So personally, the thing I like with FP5 is they're foil wrapped. I'm still looking to see if that Discord ID is been posted. Oh yeah, Samuel, I've seen yours. I just realised if I put hash in on Control F, it's the easiest way of finding it. Let me carry on scrolling the chat. Alright, I'm jumping just back down to the bottom of the chat again now. Apparently it will take over a year to develop a vaccine. The reason being, obviously, there's no real funding put into certain vaccines until a thing crops up, and then you have all the levels of testing you have to do. Because if they just rushed out the first vaccine that worked on animals, it could kill everybody they give it to. 3M NATO filters are meant to be very good. 3M's a good company. I've never personally got any of the 40mm 3M filters, but should be absolutely fine. Just inviting people to the server, then I'll check back on the thing. Right. I don't have any masks where I've got the optical inserts for them. I've got a few masks that have the optical insert holder, but I don't actually have my prescriptions in inserts. So what I'd recommend is if you've got an old pair of glasses, taking the hinges off, so it's just this bit of them, and then just sort of cable tying them in somehow. Thank you, Forever. He said 20 minutes ago they confirmed a case in Norway, northern part that means in the cold resistant. So yeah, it's very cold resistant, and we know it's in the southern hemisphere, so it's also in summer countries. There's basically, not to sound as bleak as possible, but, it's going to get you wherever you are on the planet. It's more down to how isolated I think you are rather than, Because everything where people had been saying things like, oh, yeah, when the summer comes around, it will just die out and stuff like that. It's not going to happen. I'm not saying that to be, like, ooh, doom and gloom. I'm just saying it as a, don't say, oh, I'm not going to prepare for anything because it's all going to go away magically. Yeah, and you do know RSM plays it's going to be over a year for that vaccine to come out, if it works. Because it could be they start putting it to human testing, find it's dangerous or inefficient, and it's back to the drawing board. Yeah, it should filter it fine, Moed. I mean, they're quite old masks now, but it should still filter it fine. Where are you, Random Lewis, in the world? In the UK at the moment, I'd say the JSP Force 8 is probably my favourite one that turns up for decent prices. So, in the UK Radiation King, the government basically, I don't know if it got leaked or they put it out officially, but it's a pretty damning report. It says in the worst case scenario, and you know how often everything always is the worst case scenario of how these chuckle fucks in charge manage things. 80% of the country is going to get this, and 500,000 odd people will die in the UK. When it was just the flu, like a day or two ago. So, we all know at an official level it's fucked. Sorry for my language, everybody, but it does frustrate me with a lot of this where you've had these people saying, for ages, don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah, it's going to be bad, isn't it? Thank you, Random Anon. Love your videos, man. Live in the US, and unfortunately, people think that this will blow over and don't think of the greater implications of this. Have those same people not looked at what the CDC said the other day, where they said it's going to basically get bad and you need to prep? Because that was like an official government body that said that. Let me see if I can get an article about it. Let me click news. CDC says US must prepare for coronavirus spread. But basically, it's kind of, I think the problem's been because the media for ages have been downplaying it. Now people don't want to pay attention. Thank you, Super Cool Star. But yeah, it's... When you say an M51 mask, which M51 do you mean? The FP5 filter's good. Yeah, and this is the thing, Lewis. If this is on very strange numbers, isn't it? Because if they say 80% of people get it, then they're assuming it's going to be very mild if only 500k die. Well, let's look at the Iranian figures and things like that. So, right, I'm just going to get a calculator up because I'm shit at maths, but calc, right. So, can you do percentage? Yes, you can, right. So, let's say you have... I'm just trying to work out how they've done the numbers. So, I think if they're assuming 80% of Britain gets it, they're assuming, what, like 40 million, 50 million people get it? So let's just try that. So 50, 0, 0, 0. That's 50,000, 0, 0, 0. Right, so if we have 50 million people, and then... I can't even remember how you fucking do it with this calculators they have on, like, the PC ones, because they're not, like, proper calculator buttons, but never mind. Yeah, the point is, in China, it's 3.5% death rate, even with the propaganda numbers. Italy, 3%. Iran, 13.7%. It's actually worse than that. Taiwan's 3.1%. France is 11%. Philippines is 33%. The point is, if you have a massive, nearly everybody's getting infected, and then you assume on these numbers, like every, wouldn't be... probably like 1 in 30 people is going to die, I assume. Like a good estimate. It's going to be a lot more than 500,000. Well, so 500,000 is only if 1% has a 1% fatality rate, right? So we're looking at like 1.5 million then, aren't we, if it's the 3% fatality rate, and it might even be higher than that if all the hospitals get overwhelmed, which they probably will, because the NHS is underfunded, as we know, as it is. So, if you get, during a flu season as well, you suddenly have a deadly virus that requires lots and lots and lots of people to be on oxygen or requires support from doctors, that's not going to go well, is it? Thank you, Sichuan. Virex disinfectant. Let me look it up, but if it's just random kind of bleachy type stuff and it's not all that high in percentage, it should be fine. Yeah, that looks a bit like the Safe 4 stuff we use at the Blue Cross. Yeah, water it down a bit and then use it on a mask. It'll be fine. You won't need to replace them, saltire snakes. You ought to get more than one just in case something happens to one. But in terms of if you wear it and then get back in, you're not going to need to bin it. Just don't go licking the filter afterwards. Put a new filter on the GP5 and then it depends on the condition. Yeah, thank you, Siwin, if I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm probably not, but yeah, if everybody likes the videos and if you're not subscribed, if you do subscribe, that really does help me out. Oh, M51 is the old Belgian one. If it's in good condition, you're absolutely fine with that combined with the FP5. The issue is due to age, your M51 might have fallen apart a bit. Yeah, or just spray rubbing alcohol on the mic and then wipe them down with like a J cloth with the rubbing alcohol on it. Yeah, expired FP5 filters will work against coronavirus because the particulate section of the filter is still intact. Yeah, we had one stream, Daniel, not too long ago where I think we got to 800 odd. B226 says I will not subscribe. Okay then, have fun. Well, thank you very much, Bobby. He says, I have an Israeli M15 mask. It seems to see on work okay with test, but when I hold it up to light, I can see some light come through the voice diaphragm. Is that normal? Yeah, that is normal. I can demonstrate what that is. It's because the voice diaphragm on this has a plastic disc inside it, and that's the bit that vibrates. And because the plastic is, see-through plastic, light gets through. So if I get a flashlight, if I can find where I've put one. Here we go. See that? I don't know how obvious that is to the camera, but yeah, you can see the light coming through there, can't you? If I put on strobe, apologies if anybody has epilepsy. But just to show it, see, if you see that flashing, yeah, that's perfectly normal because the voice diaphragm in this is just plastic. It's like a thick, basically plastic card that vibrates when you talk. So, yeah, nothing wrong with yours. If you did a pressure check and you found that air was getting in, even when the filter bit was covered, that would mean that potentially there was a hole in your voice diaphragm. Thank you for the donation. In the UK, Angel, the government has now said 80% of the people here will probably get coronavirus on the worst case scenario, or one of the worst case scenarios, which probably means the normal scenario, and 500,000 odd could die. But 500,000 odd is still a very optimistic figure because, as a few people have said, that's like 1% of people getting infected dying, whereas we know from most places it's much higher than 1%. All right, I think I've missed some messages, so let me just go back to these. Thank you, Goldie. Will I survive with a Soviet GP5? I've already answered that, but the answer is if you have a GP5 and it's in good condition, you put a modern filter on it, so you're not using a dodgy old asbestos-ridden Soviet filter, then yes, that should be fine, as long as it seals your face properly and all that. The thing is, when it comes to the masks, it's more about do the filters work for them. Gage says, cheers to the info. Discord is, all right, I'll add you now. Bear with me a moment. I need to take the space out your name. There we go. Yeah, if you've got the original filter as in an Israeli Type 80 filter, they're very good. Not that I know about any bank runs here, but I don't really, go into banks if I can avoid it, because they always try and sell you shit, don't they? Like, oh, get a more expensive bank account. Why don't you get an overdraft? No, thank you. Thank you, Jive Turkey Lips. He says, love your channel, not enough real-time testing to get real numbers. Thanks for all the great info. Yeah, part of the problem is for the people that don't know with the test kits, as far as I'm aware. Let's say you think you've got coronavirus. If you go and see a doctor or go into the hospital or whatever, what they have to do is basically take some sort of swab from your mouth. Then I think it takes about 48 hours to get a result from that. And they don't always come back with 100% success, as in they might show positive or negative if you're not. So some places have to use a couple of tests on each person. So basically, you've got your incubation period, and they can be spreading it at that point. Then the person can feel ill, and then at this stage, they might go and get tested. Assuming that there's a test kit to test them, or a couple of test kits to test them, it's then generally about another 2 days before any results come back. So at this point, you're adding quite a long period before you actually see the numbers coming about. So it's not like you're playing Plague Inc. or something, and then, as soon as somebody's infected, the number jumps up. We're basically 2 weeks or so behind, I think, constantly on what the figures really are. Yep, I can see Tuan, if I'm pronouncing the name right. But yeah, let me add you now. Right, if I've added you on Discord, send me a message saying hello or whatever so I can invite you to the server. Because at the moment, sometimes people ask me to add them, they donate, I add them, and then because they accept the friends request later on, I forget they've sent me a thing. Right, let me just check I haven't missed any messages, because it says there's that was giant ones. That was a question about the M15. Right, I'm caught up. Good. %80 of the population will become infected. If you've donated in past streams, and I remember that you have, just post your Discord ID, Banff. The only problem is I sometimes do get people saying they've donated when they haven't, just to try and get in when other people donate. But I have remembered that you've done it, so that's fine. Just post your Discord ID. If you've got 100% or 99% rubbing alcohol, you want to dilute it to be about 70%. Easy way of doing it, I guess, is if you get a measuring jug, put 70 ml of rubbing alcohol in it, then put 30 ml of water in, then it's about 70%. Post your ID then, Gary. I'm pretty sure I remember you doing it. Yeah, very much could be, Richard. Sadly, I think it'll probably be decades later that happens. But yeah, a few people I know have been joking about that with, tell me, how does somebody get infected from a bat? I'd love to know. And you didn't see bodies in the street. Thank you, Lewis. Depends how optimistic you want to be, Nara. I think this is a time where you really need to think about how you're going to prepare for it. I'm waiting at the moment for obvious questions rather than people just making statements or saying weird things. If you've got M50s, Noah, make sure you've got the actual filters for the M50, because the Avon M50 doesn't take regular filters. Now they're saying like an armadillo type creature, aren't they? Because that's the number the government said would get infected over here, Logan. I didn't write the bloody report. 2018 filters would certainly be good enough. Pangolin, that was it. I don't know if it can mutate back into animals and then back into people. I don't know how it works. Thank you very much, Hunter. I bought a P3 filter for 3M752 half mask and saw particulate P2, P3 a little cheaper, but is it better? I can tell it's got a P2, P3 in this one. Well, basically any P2, P3 is good. If in regards to if you get the ones with the plastic cases on like these, that's better than getting the ones that are like the disc ones, because as much as they're both P3, the ones with the plastic cases on, you can disinfect easier, because obviously you can wipe them down with alcohol, like this section of them, whereas you can't really spray the disc filters. But thank you very much. If that hasn't answered your question, try and rephrase it, and I'll see if I can answer it if that was meant something else. Thank you, Brian. It says, oi mate, are P95 respirator masks good enough? Plan on buying more filters. Also, what weapons would you recommend against violent NPCs? Can't own a gun. I live in liberal California. Right, I don't know what you can and can't own in California, I'm afraid, because I'm not in America. But if you're like us, can you own crossbows? Can you own archery bows? Farming instruments, like pitchforks? P95 is like the minimum you'd ever want to go to, because it's like the most basic in particle protection. I'd say go to a hardware store, buy 3M masks, like the 3M half face mask, and combine them with goggles or whatever, and then get the better, like what we call here P3 filters, but I think they're P100 filters in the States, or P99 they call them, which is basically the best level of particle protection you can get. Hopefully that answers you. Right, I don't think it's going to wipe out absolutely everybody, for the people saying, will it wipe out humanity? Because we're still here at the moment. But in terms of, will it be bad? Potentially quite bad, yes. But it's also going to have economic impacts and things like that. It's not just going to simply be you either catch the virus or you don't. You know, it's going to be, jobs are going to be disrupted. You know, there's going to be financial benefits and, you know, problems and all that coming from it. I think we're already going into the recession, aren't we? Well, yeah, that will be one of the few good things, I think, good cats, is that lots and lots of people will potentially die, and if you don't have a house, you can now afford one. Maddie, thank you very much. I just bought the JSP BP, big long serial number anyway, Force 10 Typhoon and ABEC 1P3 filter. Is that good enough? Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Let me look that one up. Is the Force 10 Typhoon the full face one? But the filter's certainly good enough. Yeah, that's the full face one. That'd be absolutely fine. It looks pretty similar to the 3M, is it 6,800? But because I actually prefer the JSP half face mask to my 3M half face masks, I imagine that Force 10 might actually even be slightly better than some of the 3M ones. But yeah, filter's a good enough, mask is good enough, so you'll be fine. Thank you very much, Hunter. Okay, right. P2, P3 rating. Apparently some companies I've heard do that based on what masks you're wearing them on, in the sense that apparently some filters supposedly are only rated, and this is weird because it doesn't make sense to me, but some companies say if you're wearing the filter on some masks, it equals P2, on others it equals P3. But yeah, they'd be absolutely fine. I think it's apparently because, you know, if you've got a full face mask, because it offers a slightly better facial protection rating than wearing a half face mask, just because it goes up a bit tighter to your face, rather than saying it gives like a 0.5% efficiency bonus to filtration. Some companies say it's P2 if you're worn on a half face mask, P3 on the full face mask. Yeah, if you've got a 60mm gas mask, definitely get the 60 to 40mm converters for it, so you can put modern filters on, for anybody that's been asking any of the questions themed anywhere like that. You'll be absolutely fine. Massive piggy. Current R0 estimates seem to be anywhere between like 3 and 6, so very fast, because it means every person that catches it on average seems to spread it between 3 and 6 people. Yeah, S10 filters are absolutely fine. Thank you, Gems. Yes, that will still work, Gems. That was what the video today was on. You'll need to shave your beard. If you've got a small beard, it will work. But if you've got a proper beard, no, you're going to have to shave it off. Or just not bother with a mask. But, you know, it's probably the worst alternative. Yeah, if it's in good condition, £37 for a Polish FB5 is a fine price. Yeah, that's a good name for it, Dust Devil. I think there's a lot of people that have won Darwin Awards with a lot of stuff they've done recently surrounding it. Well, some of them might want to go and give you a hug. That's my only thank you for the donation as well. Because did you see the thing in Italy about how loads of people were hugging some Chinese guy or something as like a kind of SJW statement, and then all of a sudden there's cases in Italy. It didn't necessarily come from that guy, but you know, if there's a pandemic, you want to avoid as much contact with literally everyone as possible. I'd say, oh, it's just the flu. I'd say, here's some videos from China. Look at those. And I'd also say, here's what the CDC says. Here's what the UK government says. Here's a site with the death percentages on that compared to like seasonal flus. Oh, there's quite a disparity there. But yeah, so to stop people breaking in, the best deterrent is probably a firearm, I would imagine. If you're worried about your eyes, wear goggles with it. Then I would say, Mitch Blitz, we are totally fucked. I don't think that can actually happen. But yeah, if it becomes insect-borne and then locust plague spread it around the world, I think that's probably a sign that God wants us doomed. Does anybody remember at the back end of 2019 thinking next year can't be as bad as this? and now we have a global pandemic. So, you know, good start to the year, isn't it? We've got floods, locust plagues, a deadly pandemic. Oh, what's not to love? 2020, year of the rat. So I don't think we should say it can't get any worse anymore. That's like the good old joke, isn't it? I love the old Soviet Russian jokes. You know, the gallows humor type ones, very dark jokes. Where it's what does a Soviet optimist say? Things can't possibly get any worse. I don't want to say that now because if I say things can't possibly get any worse, you know, there's going to be something else going wrong. Yeah, thank you, Eric. It's very clown world, isn't it? When you think you couldn't, it's like Bart at work was saying to me the other day. Some of you might know my mate Bart. He draws the merch art that's below. But yeah, he was saying to me, now all we need is a plague of locusts. And I said, there has been a plague of locusts. And he said, no, you're shitting me. And I said, no, look up the thing about the plague of locusts traveling to Wuhan. And he's like, oh, right. That's basically it. Isn't the cold herd thing from Far Cry 5, or is it a thing that's been around since? And it's just because I played Far Cry 5 recently, I've got a lot of that stuck in my head. I'm sure it'll keep getting worse. I'm sure we're on like a roller coaster of despair, to be honest. And this is me trying to just, you know, scare people. I'm just saying in general, when every time people say, oh, everything's going to be better soon, it never turns out like that. But maybe we can see some tragic comedy in all of this, you know. Let me see if I can find a news article before I go off about the locust plague from a reputable news site. There's UN News. I don't know if the UN is a good source of information, but there you go. Just don't get the more damp and horrible engineer prepper is the best way of reusing them. I think there's a thing about Wuhan as well. I mean, this is from Taiwan, so I know Taiwan and China don't like each other, so you don't necessarily know how true it is. I don't know if Taiwan spreads fake news about China, but there you go. Taiwan will be spared. China's facing the locust horde. Was there a Simpsons episode, Gavin, where all this was predicted? You mean, Caroline, if you're saying about me, thank you. You're probably on about something else. I did. I saw that. I also heard Donald Trump saying people are making it out to sound worse to make him look bad or something, which is a stupid thing for Trump to say. Yeah, it's weird Nordic resilience, but that might end up being quite practical. And maybe if you don't need it, you can sell it down the line. I don't know. Brandon, thank you. He said San Francisco in a state of emergency. Oh, I haven't heard about this. San Francisco. Oh, yeah. San Francisco declares state of emergency over coronavirus. Here's what that means. San Francisco mayor on Tuesday declared a local emergency to make it easier for the populous city and international travel hub to combat novel coronavirus if it comes, even while stressing that it isn't there yet. I suppose good to be prepared. The move will, among other things, help the city get reimbursed by state and federal governments for money it spends on preparedness. Mayor London Breed said at a news conference, "What's with all the weird names people have been having? Because wasn't there a Dick Pound on another thing? And a Chad somebody or other, and now there's London Breed. Sounds like a porn parody of something, but never mind. I'm not going to make fun of her name, it's just, but... So yeah, but the thing is you're seeing now is all of a sudden the dominoes have fallen, aren't you? And you're getting basically everywhere is going, oh yeah, it is serious, rather than it'll be fine, you'll see. Yeah, let me Google Dick Pound. I'm going to regret this. Is that Olympics, Dick Pound? Here we go. He was on about the Olympics might need to be cancelled. There you go. So, preparations for the Tokyo Olympics are business as usual despite the outbreak of coronavirus, according to International Olympic Committee member Dick Pound. And a number of sporting events in China have been cancelled, with football in Italy also affected. Speaking to Associated Press, Pound told athletes to keep focused on your sport. As far as we all know, you're going to be in Tokyo. But apparently it's getting more and more unlikely that they're actually going to be there. See you, Stalin. Have you seen that? We're going completely off topic now, but let's stay amused by all this. It was Pounded by the Pound. The Brexit porn fantasy book, actually a real thing. Like where there's those stupid kind of porn things. Yeah, there was one I kept seeing called Pounded by the Pound. I'm not sure if it's actually real or not. But there you go, Pounded by the Pound. I think Don't Matter would have been worse if his name was Willie Stroker, because there was a bloke called Willie Stroker. That was actually a legit name. Let me have a look then. I mean, people could just collapse anyway. I think it's an important thing to note, isn't it, that, stuff can happen even if it's nothing to do with coronavirus. But yeah, here we go. Coronavirus, Canary Wharf. Man collapses coughing in shopping centre as people run away. Video footage has emerged as a man in Canary Wharf collapsing in front of shopped onlookers. Some of them ran away in panic. Was he coughing as he collapsed? It looks like he's coughing. You never know, some dickhead could actually go out and do this, couldn't they, just to scare people? Oh, send them home on the tube. Brilliant. What if UVA bulbs at work, Alexander? UVB certainly does. UVC is better, but UVC also damages your skin and eyes. So I'd stick with UVB bulbs like this one with the brilliant light coming off of it. I've had this on for like weeks with it there, and it's not caused skin burns or anything. Where the fuck's my fucking train? Yeah, I know that. Just somebody in the Discord, SH Photography, said, got some corona cases 5 kilometers away from me. I'll get my family some masks and some food and chlorine bleach. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I'll head off now because I've gone a bit over, but it's been an enjoyable stream, even though it's not very enjoyable subject matter. But I guess you have to see the funny side of all this horrible stuff. Are they actually putting Canary Wharf onto lockdown? Do you think people riot up north if Greggs gets closed? Right, anyway, I'll be going off, but thanks everybody. See you. I assume I'll probably be on tomorrow evening, but I don't know at the moment. But stay safe, everybody, and just keep following all the news and get it from a variety of sources, because obviously, as said, up until recently, the mainstream media was going, nothing's going to come of this. And then, oh, look, it did. Right, anyway, see you all. Goodbye. And don't forget to like the stream on your way out if you've not liked it yet.